Good evening. You are now listening to the worldwide transmission of the GBC with the Honorable WMII.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I just want to say I'm honored to come before you as you wind down your evening, preparing for your next day. I just want to be able to cover some news for you tonight. Hopefully it will do some service to you and get some great information for you as well. Also, I just want to let you know before we get started, if you want to contact us, you can contact us at thehonorablewm2@gmail.com. That's thehonorable2@gmail.com. So also, if you want to support us through our Cash App, you can contact us at and support us at $THWMII, all capital letters. That's $THWMII. We also are looking for some great sponsors. I know last episode we had a great sponsor spotlight on Miss Angela Y. DeBose with her album and single called His Glory. So if you want to do that as well, you can contact us at the address that I just gave. Just want to give you a few stories that you may not have heard of. Before we get into our main stories, we want to give you some stories that happened around the world. It says there is a mushroom. You know, when you see a mushroom, a lot of times when an explosion happens, it turns into like a mushroom cloud. They're calling the coronavirus, spikes in cases a mushroom outbreak. It says the United States announced that more than 48,000 new coronavirus infections yesterday, another daily record, increase of 80% in the past 2 weeks. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease expert, warned the Senate that the number could soon reach to 100,000 a day if the country does not act quickly. Another story here, it says the divide among the airlines. American Airlines will begin filling its planes to capacity, joining United Airlines, which were already doing so. The other two largest U.S. carriers, Delta and Southwest, have committed to keeping some seats empty through September. So the airlines are trying to get back on like they were. It says it's still not clear how easily the coronavirus spreads on airplanes. They have better air circulation than typical indoor spaces, but people can be packed tightly. For that reason, some epidemiologists are worried that American and United Airlines are prioritizing profits over safety. So a lot of these companies have been losing a lot of funds with the coronavirus, and they're saying that, hey, they're trying to get those dollars and putting people's safety on the back burners. We hope that's not the case, but if you're trying to fly, this is some news you may want to know. Another news, it talks about Russia's growing aggression. The list of recent Russian aggressions is reminiscent of the Cold War. It says in addition to the bounty program on United States soldiers in Afghanistan, there have been cyber attacks on Americans working from home and Russian jets flying off the coast of Alaska to test air defenses. So people working out of their homes, they're saying that they're being hacked. I know some jobs talk about there's a lot of security breaches that's been going on. And it looks as if, they're trying to allege that Russia has something to do with this. So, and this, a lot of things are going on out here, guys, and I just hope we are staying prayed up. Also in the world, it states that there's a chilling effect in Hong Kong. China's crackdown on Hong Kong has already begun to have an effect, with several major pro-democracy groups disbanding on the same day that Beijing passed a new security law. The next steps they're warning is that people in Taiwan fear that China's move against Hong Kong does not bode well for them. So they're worried in the United States, and they're worried over here in Taiwan and China. There's worry all along the world, but you don't have to have worry because there's peace with the Lord Jesus Christ. If a lot of these people put their hope and trust in Christ and not on any false gods out here that they may be serving, they will be, secure in their faith. A little bit else was happening in the world. It says hours before the Paycheck Protection Program, a coronavirus relief measure for businesses, was scheduled to close, the Senate approved a 5-week extension. The House and Trump have not yet approved it. So they're trying to get some help out here to the American people. They're talking heavily about passing another stimulus bill for the American people as well. So let's hope that all goes through for the people that are in heavy need of this. And it says that a New York judge issued a temporary restraining order blocking publication in a tell-all book by Mary L. Trump, the president's niece. So I heard a little bit about this. She's trying to put a tell-all book about their family. She's basically trying to spill the dirty laundry on their family, which, and if you know anything about Donald Trump, he's big on loyalty. So it seems like some members of their families are being a little bit disloyal. For one, I don't see why a family would try to profit over, telling bad news on their family relatives. To me, that's a bad relative, if you ask me. But, that's the kind of world we're living in. That's why the book tells you, you should put no trust in the flesh, because sometimes the flesh will really do you wrong. Just a little bit more of our stories here we're getting into. It says that stinking black water floods into famed Acapulco Beach. Now, you used to hear, when I was growing up, I used to hear a lot about Acapulco. They used to always talk about how nice those beaches was. But right now, there's some stinking black water that's flooding into that beach. It says, this is the moment Acapulco made waves in social media for its black water. A sewage outbreak that soiled the famed Mexican beach resort. A person recorded the vile sight from a hotel room after a 3-month coronavirus quarantine that had improved the quality of the beach. The constant outflow of black water lasted approximately 25 minutes, which came with a lot of pressure, an eyewitness who wished to remain anonymous told Reuters. They were very stinking waters. They made me nauseous, the person added. The Guerrero state government denied on Facebook that the water was part of a drainage system or rupture of a sewage tank. Yuck. That's interesting there. Moving on in our articles, a lot of people have still been out of churches and they have not been able to congregate physically, but a lot of people have been going online. I recently had attended a funeral, a burial service, actually, and it was social distancing. There were masks being worn. There were, and the services were outside at the burial service, so it went by pretty good. It was a gravesite service, and when it was over with, we immediately left. We didn't do no shaking hands or nothing. We waved and did heart emojis to the loved ones, but we got out of there because we don't want to have no type of coronavirus cases coming among us. So, but here's an article here from the Christian Post by Michael Grabowski. It says that most U.S. Christians are uncomfortable with returning to church. Here's a copy of our article here. And you can, it's interesting here because, cases are spiking and it's going crazy. Reading it says, nearly 2/3 of American Christians are uncomfortable with returning to in-person worship service over the coronavirus concerns, according to a recent survey. The American Enterprise Institute conducted a poll of 3,500 Americans from late May to early June, asking them about their comfort levels with returning to church. Among the respondents, 64% said that they were either somewhat uncomfortable or very uncomfortable returning to in-person church services. And that's the thing, a lot of people are really skeptical. The movie industry, the restaurant industry, and unfortunately, a lot of these places of worship are going to take a hit in business. Among the respondents, 64% say they were either somewhat uncomfortable or very uncomfortable with returning to in-person church services. People are equivocating and uncertain about whether they feel comfortable attending, said Daniel Cox, who oversaw the study. We're seeing among lay people a significant amount of discomfort in going back to formal in-person religious practices. And here's some of the breakdowns that the study that was reported. It said that white evangelical Protestants were the most comfortable with attending services, with 61% saying that they were either very comfortable or somewhat comfortable with attending. By contrast, only 26% of Hispanic Catholic respondents said that they were either very comfortable or somewhat comfortable with attending in-person services. And among black Protestants, 42% said that they were very uncomfortable with attending, which was the same percentage for respondents who identified as major non-Christian religion. In response to the spread of the coronavirus, the vast majority of churches in the United States opted to shut their doors, and most moving their worship exclusively online service. And a lot of churches are going to Cisco WebEx and video conferencing, Zoom, and they're having their services there because they don't want to put harm to the congregation. Reading on here, it says many churches have remained closed as a precaution after a couple of churches that reopened have found themselves reclosing amid new COVID-19 cases emerging among attendees. And one of the final statements that was said here in this article is, allow us to take this slowly and to recognize in all things that we are to be persons who help to build the abundant life that individuals seek on this side of heaven. So, just be patient with the churches. I know a lot of people want to see each other and want to congregate, but you have to take care of yourself. We don't know what people are doing and who they are around, and as you go your daily goings and comings, you don't know who you might be bumping up against, and going to a place of worship, sitting in there infecting people can really cause harm to everyone. Now there's some news here on I want to get to a continuation of a article that was discussed about help for people during this pandemic of the coronavirus. And here's some federal rent relief. It states that due to the CARE Act, which was passed on March 27th, it allocated $1.25 billion to help public housing agencies respond to the coronavirus with assistance to the renters. And you can contact your HUD. You can go on the Department of Housing and Urban Development online as well, and look up the various programs that it offers. And I just want to let you know a few of them here. Your local housing authorities is a place that you can contact if you're going through some issues with your rent. There's a lot of renters in the country, and you can contact your local housing authority on this. Your state housing finance agencies. You can call, there's an 800 number, 1-800-955-2232. So if you're out there struggling with your rent, you can contact this company. Also, you can dial 211 as well. What we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break and get to more of these programs to help you out. This is the GBC with the Honorable WM2. Thank you for rejoining us here on the GBC. I'm your host, the Honorable WM2. And, we, as I stated, we have so much stuff is going on in the world, with so many stories that we're covering for you. But we're going to do our most diligent job at getting it to you today. Also just want to let you know, we cover the news, but this is a multi-variety broadcast here. Sometimes we'll be getting into subjects we'll be talking about. We'll be doing interviews. So if you have something that you would like to talk about, you can email us. We'll have the information at the end of the program how you can contact us. So we'll be doing a lot of things in addition to the news that we're covering. I just want to continue on with the help that is given to the public during this coronavirus pandemic. Again, I want to talk about the Salvation Army. It states that in many areas, the Salvation Army offers one-time rent assistance. Rent assistance is typically limited to people earning less than 125% of the federal poverty guidelines. Contact your local chapter for details and to check whether you qualify. Catholic churches as well. Some Catholic churches branches are offering emergency assistance grants that you can use to help you pay your rent. Visit the charity's website to find out more. So there's so many different companies and organizations are giving people relief during these times. Everybody's trying to come together and help out where they can. Modest Needs is another company that's been around for quite some time. It said that the national charity helps people facing short-term financial needs. It's currently accepting applications to help people who've had their hours reduced or who have been laid off because of the coronavirus. You can apply for help with the Modest Needs website online. There's also some eviction protections. It says that if the coronavirus has caused you to fall behind on rent payments, take note that evictions have been temporarily suspended in many jurisdictions. And it says what it is. Many states and local governments have suspended evictions proceedings in their jurisdictions. For example, Iowa and Minnesota have suspended evictions until further notice. So some of these states are, realizing, hey, this is a tough time. We can't charge or penalize people, when things are shut down. Hope your state is one of them as well. It states that some state has specific requirements to qualify for an eviction suspension. For example, Utah requires that tenants have been current on their payments as of March 31st, and tenants must document that they were financially hurt by COVID-19. If you're considering legal support to get eviction protections, you can search the Just Shelter website to find out what community resources may be available to you. And it says if you currently live in a property with a federally backed mortgage loan or a property that participates in a covered housing program, you're protected from new eviction proceedings through July 24th, 2020. So there are a lot of protections out there. I get a lot of people talking. I hear people talking saying, well, what programs are they out there? What's provided to people during COVID-19? So that's why I most definitely pull up a list of places that you can, tune into and check out. As I stated, you can also contact the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Ben Carson is over that. And it states that roughly 8 million renters nationwide live in properties insured by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and thousands more may be covered by other provisions of this program. Check with your landlord or property manager to see if you're eligible for eviction protections. And HUD also has a dedicated COVID-19 page to let you know what's going on as well. And it states, we still don't know how long the coronavirus will last. Temporary rental relief measures like the ones we mentioned above may be extended depending on guidance from agencies like the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. If you're struggling to pay your rent, communicate with your landlord immediately and do some homework. Understanding who owns your building mortgage can help you determine what types of rental relief you may be eligible for. But even if you're unable to work out a rent solution with your landlord, you're unlikely to lose your rental right away, especially since many state and local governments have created rent relief funds or suspended eviction proceedings. If you need to get legal help, you may be eligible for free or low-cost representation. Check to see if there are any legal aid offices in your area if you need to go that route. So there are a lot of help out there, and this is actually a beneficial article that I just read for you that you can most definitely contact these companies that can help you out during these times, because a lot of people are out there hurting, and some people aren't working, and they want to see how they can keep on managing. And if you check those sites out, hopefully you can be blessed and help with that as well. Now, there has been a lot of news about the Supreme Court, and some things that they've been doing is good for the public. Some things people feel they've been doing has not been so good for the public. But we're going to talk about a couple Supreme Court rulings that was recently put out there. From the Christian Post, again from Mr. Michael Grabowski, it says that Supreme Court strikes down a state ban on public aid to religious schools. So it says the Supreme Court has ruled that these religious schools can qualify for a state tax credit program, even when the state constitution explicitly bans public aid to religious entities. In a decision released Tuesday morning, the High Court ruled 5-4 that parents could take advantage of a public scholarship program to send their children to religious schools. And I think that is a really good thing. You should be able to put your children in the school of choice. A lot of schools out here, there's some discrepancies that I've been hearing that they've not been teaching people, properly. Some people teach them more liberal things, and a lot of parents who are not satisfied with that wants to have their children in a more, conservative environment of learning. Chief Justice John Roberts delivered the opinion of the court, being joined by Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Brett Kavanaugh, and Neil Gorsuch. It states that Montana's no-aid provision bars religious schools from public benefits solely because of the religious character of the schools. The provision also bars parents who wish to send their children to religious schools from those same benefits, again solely because of the religious character of the school. So, I mean, who would want to, if you have a good Christian environment that you're putting your child in, who would not support that? I mean, it's wild. A state need not to subsidize private education, but once a state decides to do so, it cannot disqualify some private schools solely because they are religious. And I'm going to tell you, when you look at history and what has happened in the world, but when they took prayer out of schools and tried to take a lot of religious, liberties out of school, that's when you had stuff like Columbine come about. That's when you had a lot of these, shootings in the schools and a lot of these bad, things happening. When you take God out, you have hell, pretty much. The Beckett Fund, a religious liberty law firm that represents the plaintiffs, celebrated the ruling as a victory over Blaine amendments, which prohibits funding religious institutions, including schools, and which several states have in place. So, I mean, Blaine amendments, shame on them for doing that. It says, bye-bye, Blaine. The Supreme Court just ruled that anti-religious Blaine amendments are unconstitutional, making it clear that religious organizations cannot be treated as second-class citizens when it comes to widely available public benefit programs. So it's a blessing that the religious institutions are being, getting this type of ruling. You have to be careful in all things, and you have to, and my main thing is that if you can teach your own kids, do it. Learn them, because the best teacher of your children are you, the parents. But if you can't, put your children in a school that values the closest of your beliefs. So it's very, this is a big win for the religious institutions. Another Supreme Court ruling here by Mr. Michael Grabowski again from the Christian Post says that Supreme Court strikes down Louisiana law regulating abortion clinics. It says the United States Supreme Court rejected a Louisiana state law requiring abortion providers to be held to similar standards as ambulatory surgical centers. Now, I just want to say, I'm not a fan of abortion at all. I believe in the right to life. You shouldn't have the right to kill someone who hasn't given you consent. To me, that is murder. And I just want to say that I pray that they ban abortion. Not want to get too much into that, but I just pray that they do ban abortions because everyone has a right to live. Want to cover our last story here. It says Muhammad Ali's son says dad would have hated the racist Black Lives Matter. This is a very interesting story here. It says that on the 4th anniversary of his death, Muhammad Ali's only biological son says that his father would be against Black Lives Matter, calling the movement racist and the protesters devils. The legendary boxer and activist stood up against racism through his life, but Muhammad Ali Jr. says his dad would have been sickened by how the protests have turned to violence and looting after the death of George Floyd. He said, you don't just bust stuff up, and he used a little harsh language, so I'm kind of cleaning it up for him here. He says, you don't just bust stuff up, don't trash the police, you can peacefully protest. My father would have said, they ain't nothing but devils. My father said, all lives matter. I don't think he'd agree with the Black Lives Matter movement. On the BLM movement, Ali Jr. said he was a Muslim just like his dad. He says he thinks they're racist. As I told you before, I was going to talk a little about Black Lives Matter on a previous show. And a lot of things that they're doing is, when you look at their charter, a lot of things they're doing is unscriptural. A lot of things that they're saying and promoting is against the Bible. So if you against the Bible, that means you're against God. And if you're against God, you're for the devil. A lot of the ungodly things that they're trying to do me a favor, read their charter, and you will see that they aren't really for Black lives. They're actually for themselves. And their lifestyles are not according to what the Word of God states. Reading on here, it says, speaking of George Floyd, he said that the officer was wrong for killing that person. People don't realize that there was more footage than what they showed. He stated about the guy resisting arrest, and the officer was doing their job, but they used the wrong tactics. So Muhammad Ali's Jr. son has really coming out against Black Lives Matter. And I just want to tell you that, your lives do matter, black folks. Your lives do matter, world. Your lives matter, and just like everyone else's lives matter. We have a right to live and be peaceful and prosperous, because in this world, you're going to have trouble, but Christ has come that you may have life and life more abundantly. This is the Honorable WMII signing out.
Thank you for listening to the worldwide transmission of the GBC with the Honorable WMII.